Welcome to a very special live stream, guys. I'm your host, TeladiaPlays, and we've got a very special guest on. So, before I introduce her, she has been to the Full Circle event. So, if you guys are hyped, please hit that like button and subscribe if you're new around here. So, without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Raya, and here she is.
Hey, good afternoon or good evening to you,
Yeah,
folks
good
watching.
evening. Yeah, good evening if you're from the UK, and in the afternoon, welcome on in. So obviously I've got like a few questions to ask you about the full circle. Obviously, hopefully you are well and hopefully you've had a fun time at full circle.
I did, yeah, and I'm happy to start talking about it with y'all.
Yes, I mean it's a great opportunity to see. When you popped up on my live on my stream, I was just like, "What? Ray's there?" I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I've been enjoying spending time with you over on Mad Max and our Movies, Madness, and Entertainment, our friend Mad Max's channel, and yeah, catching you in other streams as well. So I'm happy to get to talk to you directly now.
yes, perfect. Yes. So let's kick things off with the questions I actually have. So my first question is, how was the experience being there at SnyderCon and seeing all the fans there?
Yeah, it was kind of surreal. I love interacting with pretty much everyone in the community and chatting with them in the chat or just uh, engaging with their content in general. So seeing them in person, I was a little worried because I have social anxiety and I wasn't sure how my interactions with them would compare to how I interact with them online. But luckily, I ended up being greeted and welcomed and treated well by everyone I interacted with. So it became less nerve wracking for me to, be overly self conscious and just, enjoy being around them. So I think that was the biggest challenge was, getting over my stage fright of interacting with people I don't necessarily know that well in person. So yeah, overall it was great.
Yes, like when I found out you were going to the event, I was super stoked for you because I know that going to these types of events, it, it's like once in a lifetime experience. So so yeah, and as CJ says, Ray is getting better. Social anxiety is really difficult. I suffer, and he suffered from it too. So I can understand from that. So my next question is, how did it feel to meet Zack Snyder and sit down with him talking Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition?
Yeah, I guess it was also kind of surreal. I didn't realize until just before the event started that I was invited to be on that interview panel. And at first, I was a little taken back because I was like, "Why me? Why?" There's so
Yeah,
many other people there who are probably well more prepared and deserving of this opportunity. But then I had a secondary thought, thinking, if you don't take this opportunity, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. And people are going to low key think you're or call you an idiot behind your back if you don't take this opportunity. So I was like, okay, that pressure to perform went out of the window. And I was like, even if I screw up this interview, at least like I got to meet him face to face. So yes, I was really, really anxious about it the evening before because I also had a channel stream scheduled right before it, and
yes. Mhm.
I had to prepare for that too. And yeah, it was just a busy day overall. And getting home late from the previous night of seeing Man of Steel, where it was like a 3 hour long movie, and then a hour plus long Q&A afterwards. There was a lot of like hype and happiness and enthusiasm, but I didn't realize until around 3 a.m. I was like, I'm physically exhausted, but I still have to prepare for all this work tomorrow or the next day for my stream as well as Man of Steel. So anyway, fast forward to the action, or sorry, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice extended edition, because I was the first person to go on stage for that. So kind of cut through to like post fatigue and all this other stuff that the previous day put me through. I did my best to, keep a, positive outlook and still sort of, be honest about where I was at mentally with other folks who I was around who were very empathetic and understanding. Like, I was very nervous, and I was able to talk with my friend Jacob, who did the interview with me, and kind of let them know, hey, like, I'm feeling very overwhelmed right now. So any support you can give me right now is very much appreciated. And I was able to get some support and encouragement from Dave Pena as well, who did his interview with Zach. He was the first one to go up yesterday, so he kind of set the bar as far as like what to expect conversation wise. So all
Yes.
of that mental preparation and grief I've sort of put myself through, it went straight into okay, it's now or never. Again, I was putting myself in that mind space of like, I need to just do this because I'm going to regret it if I don't just do it, even if I make a bunch of mistakes. So during my actual like sit down watch along session with Zach, I was a little shy at first. I was very quiet. I was coming off in my memory as like kind of creepy because I was not talking to him a whole lot when we were walking backstage. I was just sort of like lingering behind him, and I'm just looking even more suspicious than I would if I was like overly like hovering above him. But I try to be mindful of like, yeah, he has people hovering over him all the time, so let me just maintain that 6 foot distance rule during the pandemic times. And yes, trying to just come off as like polite and gracious while not being overly like, oh my god, it's Zack Snyder. It's like, yeah, no, it's like he's just a dude. He made some awesome movies. He's here to chat. Nothing fancy. So I try to convince myself that was the case. And
Yes.
yeah, sitting down to talk with him. At first it was a little bumpy. I felt really self-conscious about, okay, what are some questions that will not come off as like just filling air or just unnecessary. And I had maybe one or two of those. I think one of the questions that I regret asking is when Bruce is lifted up at the beginning of the movie by bats, like, is that literal or figurative? And then in retrospect, I'm like, oh, of course it's figurative, like, of course bats aren't going to lift him up, like, in the air. It's supposed to just represent him transcending from being Bruce, like the regular kid, to being
Yeah.
like this this figure for of like justice and detachment from humanity, and like embracing his or ascending into another realm of
Yes.
consciousness. So yes, that was basically him ascending into like a different mindset after losing his parents. So yeah, after kind of like getting over that bump, getting into more questions with Zach was like a little more streamlined, and it became more conversational. He came off as like super approachable and like receptive to a lot of my questions and responses as well. I asked a lot about like the mental health status of Clark and Bruce, as far as like them coping with trauma, losing their parents, and then finding guidance and emotional and moral support from their either adoptive parents or parent figures, like with
Yes.
Alfred for Bruce. So yeah, hearing Zach kind of like go over his intention behind the way that he portrayed Clark and Bruce's children and growing up into the adults they are now. That was a really fascinating discussion to have with him too. And then my friend Jacob asked some pretty good, or like went over some details that were really important to him too, like some of the visual themes in the movie, like the funeral procession in the beginning of the film, and then the film ending with a funeral procession at the end, just sort of like a
Full
full circle.
circle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was something that he cited as well. And then the elevating music during Bruce's ascent into the air, during the figurative sort of like transcending into
Yes.
Batman scene. Yeah, he had some pretty good insight as far as like catching those visual motifs. So yeah, overall, I would probably give my personal like discussion with Zach maybe like a 7 out of 10. There were a lot of things that I feel like I could have done better and that I could have probably asked more eloquently. But I did get some extra time with him off cam to talk more about some of the mental health motifs that I saw in his work as well. Like some characters that come to mind our Barry Allen. I perceive him as someone who is coded as either ADHD or autistic, or if not all. So I
Yeah,
picked up on that, as well as with Lex Luthor, like definitely borderline personality disorder, bipolar,
yeah,
other personality and mood disorders as well as what I picked up on him. And then Clark and Bruce having like maladaptive development issues because of the trauma that they've went through, losing their parents, as well as being social outcasts or social misfits. Not basically seeing the world from outside looking in, and some of that being reflected in Cyborg and in Cyborg and Wonder Woman as well. So yeah, he was super receptive to those citations that I made that are part specific to how I interpret the material versus like some of it being intentional in his story writing and how he directed the films. So yeah, I think like he appreciated my interpretation of his work in that respect. So yeah,
yeah.
overall, that's kind of like my experience.
Yeah. In the chat, we got Super Pro Corey, of course, from the Bat Channel, saying Rhea is an awesome. She's so cool seeing pictures of her at the event, but she did an amazing job, amazing stream too. So, and he also said you did fantastic, Rhea. Um, Rhea is such a kind person. He does appreciate you being friends with everybody. So, and obviously we got the Bat Channel in the chat as well. Welcome. Hey, how you doing, the Bat Channel? Hopefully you're well. But yeah, like it's so interesting and how you pick up on some of the things that Zach was doing. I find that interesting, and I, I I find it like I was so happy to see you sit down with Zach during the watch party for BVS because that was live streamed, and I had it up on my monitor, and myself, Snyder Queen, Comics League, we basically are watching doing a watch along, and we were like, wait, is that Ray on screen? So we couldn't believe it, and we were so happy and so for you to actually get the opportunity to sit down with Zach. So I'm very happy that you to get the opportunity for to to get sit with Zach. Um, so my third question is, as the event was going well, was uh, what was it like to see Zack Snyder's Justice League in IMAX on the
Oh
third
wow,
day?
yeah, that was an amazing experience. I missed out on seeing every one of these films in theater. Well, of course, it
Yeah,
was everyone's first time experiencing Zack Snyder's Justice League in IMAX, but I was not prepared for how extraordinary all of the visual effects and actors looked in the 4x3 IMAX screen. It was the audio was pretty much perfect. The visuals popped in ways that could not be described nearly as well, like on even like a 4K television. Like this is like leagues ahead of anything that the home experience could do, could render basically. And yeah, I think one of the biggest sort of like visual pops for me was seeing Steppenwolf in as fully rendered on screen. As we all know, like his armor, sort of like moves in and
yes,
out as he, is on screen. But I didn't realize like to what end the armor reflexed, and the motion and rhythm of it. Some of it was expressive to whatever emotions he was expressing, whether it be like, anger, frustration, just like evil, plotting, or trying to be menacing, or groveling for his life. Yeah, his character was a lot more expressive, noticeably, on IMAX. Of course, all the other characters were noticeably emotive, and the impact of their words and the sound effects, sort of like being multi-layered behind what they're saying versus what their actions are portraying on screen. Those were all, well communicated as well. But I think my understanding of Steppenwolf as a character was sort of elevated because of seeing him in IMAX, because a lot of his expressions were better rendered in that format. A
Yes.
lot of his expressions, as far as like his eyes, I mentioned this before, that his eyes were a lot more noticeably expressive and more human-like. So that instilled a sense of like empathy, because you could connect with someone who, like, had more human characteristics, and there was more of a sense of like, okay, this they're no longer this creature from another planet. They're a person, who has a
Yes.
desire to belong in this larger, and to belong and feel accepted in this larger ecosystem that they want to be a part of, and that they have been working their whole life to be accepted by. And which is sort of like a common thing, I would think. Like, people want to be accepted by, communities that they admire and stuff like that. But yeah, I felt that more with Steppenwolf than I did before. And it was weird because I just literally saw him slaughter a bunch of Themyscirians, and I was like, I can't be empathetic to this person, but I was like, oh wait, they're a person. So maybe, like, there is something there, but before we could, determine whether or not they were redeemable, they were just like decimated before our eyes. So there goes Steppenwolf. No chance for redemption. But anyway, that was something I noticed for sure. Everything else that was impactful, like Cyborg being the heart of the movie, like we all know that. Like the same like emotional beats as far as like losing his mom, losing his dad, realizing that he is he is good the way he is, like as Cyborg, and he doesn't feel like an outcast, or that he doesn't belong anymore into the world because of his physical form. Yeah, he came to terms with all of that in the movie, and those were impactful beats that were communicated well in the visuals of the film. But for me personally, like the emotional resonance was still there from seeing it at home versus seeing it in IMAX. But yeah, what I will say is that like the actual like CGI effects, like I said, Steppenwolf being like fully like CGI for the most part, and seeing Darkseid and Desaad in all their visual splendor as well. There were details there that I didn't catch even at home on a 4K TV. As far as like the color palettes, the moving aspects of their environment, as well as like on their physical being as well, especially when they're projecting from the stone slab before they
Yeah.
actually materialize in the same space as Steppenwolf. So I thought that was pretty cool. I haven't really like appreciated that up until I saw it in IMAX. And Barry's running scene as well. Doing like the what was it, like the Flash Force or something? Sorry if
You're
I'm like,
going into the Speed Force.
yes, sorry, I misrepresented that with the name, but yeah, Speed
Yes.
Force. That was visually compelling, even more than it was like watching on a television screen. So yes, yeah, all those things that I mentioned were very compelling and well communicated in IMAX. Way more impactful than you would expect to get just from watching it at home.
Did you like so when watching it there, was it in 4:3 or was it like wide like a normal cinema type of thing?
Yeah, it was 4:3.
4:3, okay. I think I find that intriguing because I thought that they might do it like a widescreen type of thing, like in normal IMAX cinemas, but I guess not. I guess Zach decided that I'm sticking to the 4:3 format, even in IMAX, which I find cool. And like obviously seeing like you guys get the opportunity to see in IMAX, I reckon obviously I wish it was everyone to see it, but the lucky people to get the opportunity to get to go to the theater with Zach, with to even experience it with Ray Fisher because he was at the event too on the third day. It was like it must have been like a momentous occasion, well, not momentous occasion, but more like a moment that you'll never forget for the rest of your life because you have those people at at the event. And furthermore, it's like you're watching a movie that you love, and and the fact that you have one of the actors uh, in the audience with you. It's like it must have been crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Cyborg is definitely a character that I admired the most in the film, and seeing Ray Fisher join the panel and run into the audience and the crowd going Borg life, Borg life. Yeah, that was a really inspiring, spirit lifting moment, and it was cool seeing Ben Affleck as well. Granted, uh, I was more
Hey, Daniel.
excited to see Ray Fisher just because of like the emotional impact that his character has in the film, and how they resonated with me, how they still resonate with me to this day. It was great seeing all of that talent on stage, as well as with Ray Porter being the moderator for the panel, and
Yes.
Chris Terrio, the writer, being present as well. So yeah, there was just like a big like bombastic, sort of energy for all of those folks being there present, and that's just like the reciprocated admiration that they had towards one another as well as towards the audience, and just towards the work that they did on these films as well. Like everyone was just very like celebratory, very humbled, very honored to be amongst each other. And yeah, I just felt like a really great, optimistic energy from everyone, that there was still a lot of love for these characters that was still very much present in all of them, even, years and years later.
Yeah. I was a bit like I was a bit surprised you didn't get opportunity to ask a question to Zach on or to any of the actors at the Zack Snyder Justice League panel.
Oh, you mean you were surprised that other
Y-
folks were?
No, I was surprised that you didn't get the opportunity to ask a question.
Oh, you mean, well, for me, like, I was thinking of asking questions, but I was like, I got a whole, watch party with Zach
Yeah.
the other day, so I wanted to give other folks the opportunity, because I was just one of like, over
Yeah.
300 people that were there, and they all paid the same ticket price as me to be present, so I want to give them
Yes.
I want to give someone else the opportunity
Up a
to,
fair
yeah,
chance. Yeah.
yeah.
Which is I understand totally. So it's like because I know that when Ben Affleck appeared on the panel, you uh, were you were you more than surprised that Ben Affleck was there or no?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I was not expecting to see him. I was thinking, I didn't even fathom him showing up. I thought maybe Henry Cavill or Gal Gadot would show up. Maybe Ezra Miller. I was just like not really expecting him of all people to show up, because I was like, yeah, it didn't even pop into my brain that would ever happen. So yeah, I was a little shocked. I didn't even know what I would ask him actually. I know people in the audience asked some pretty good questions though, especially in regards to like, hey, what are your thoughts around, a standalone Batman movie? Like, what would be your intention around it? And I'm sure you were watching the show along with me when I was
Yes.
there, and yeah, he didn't express too many like, hardcore story details, but he did at least acknowledge, I know y'all want to see Deathstroke versus Batman. It's something that is very fascinating to me, but I do feel like I need to kind of explore that story a little bit more and be more intentional around how that would push the narrative forward, as opposed to just being visual fan service, like, visual
Yeah.
candy for the eye. Like, how is the story going to, play into the overarching narrative that the three films we just watched, are moving towards.
And
So I
how it
thought
would
that
have
was really cool.
connected. Yeah.
Exactly, that you put it just the way it was, communicated. How would that standalone Batman movie connect to everything that we already have?
Yes. Because like I said, I just think it's amazing that we had a full 3 days event. And I think we also got to remind people of this. This event was also to raise awareness for AFSP, for suicide prevention, not only about the Snyderverse itself, because people forget to realize that Zach is not only uh, Zach is showing us his movies for DC, but he's also trying to raise awareness for suicide and trying to avoid it and trying to, because if you guys haven't yet, and you guys want to support AFSP, there there will be a link for you guys to donate to which I'm going to put in the chat right now. Um, so you guys can donate to AFSP and show that show that support to people and basically help people that that are that is in need for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, being aware of what the services are that they provide. They're worldwide as far as like the
Yes.
phone support, email support that they offer folks in need, and all of it is free. So anything that you do donate helps, cover their overhead and operational costs, because a lot of them are doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. Well, I would assume all of them are if they are working there, but yeah, that's really important. And then that was one of the things that I wanted to focus on during my live stream before my live Q&A was like, what is my personal connection to the overall message of AFSP? And apart from making suicide prevention and awareness of like the signs of someone in need present, it's like, okay, let's be even more aware of the signs of someone who is in need of help. And it's to
Yes.
kind of destigmatize mental health and actually put like names and faces on a lot of these conditions that many of us experience. And I was like really open and honest about some of the I want to say things that I manage for my mental health, as far as like the different conditions that I personally have and how I treat them. And me just, sharing my testimony in hopes of giving people or encouraging other folks to um, be more comfortable with, things that they may also be, working on managing as well with their mental health. So that was basically the intention, was like for me to
Yeah.
like share that, okay, yeah, mental health awareness, which leads to suicide prevention, is wonderful, and having these resources really helps. But I think to be even more intentional around accessibility of these resources, we should also be aware of the different signs of people struggling with mental health, and we need to assign labels to that, and we need to understand the different symptoms of each of those. So that was my intention as well, that mental health is not just a single label that is a one
Yes.
size fits all solution for everyone. So that was my goal, was to like say like there's a bunch of different
Different
conditions.
variations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's variations in different conditions people experience. So yeah, it's important to acknowledge those and know that there isn't just a one size fits all solution to prevent everyone from struggling. Like, it's an ongoing thing.
Yes. We do have a question in the chat actually for you, and that is from Super Bro Corey. And he says, anything you would like to see them do differently or you do differently if they do a full circle event in the future?
Yeah, so what I would like to see them do differently in the future is to um, make the event more holistic to the celebration of Zach's entire career. He was a pretty prolific filmmaker, and well, he was at first like a music video director. Then he entered, obviously like Dawn of the Dead and 300 and Sucker Punch and Owls of Gahul, and then eventually the DCEU. So yeah, those sort of milestones in his career, I feel like, are just as valid to celebrate in his in his career as anything else. And especially once we get Rebel Moon content, that's also going to be super
Yes.
impactful too. And Army of the Dead. So he's got some really big IPs under his belt that are all like uniquely created within his own. Oh wait, and Watchmen, obviously. So
Yes.
yeah, like, sorry, I missed that one at first, but yes, I'm just saying like his entire career is worth celebration. So if I had to change anything for a future convention, it would be to showcase more of his work. Maybe, I know that happened at the first SnyderCon. They showed
Mhm.
Watchmen, and I believe maybe like the first two DCEU films. I might be mistaken.
Yes. Yes. They showed Man of Steel and BVS,
Got it.
and
Okay,
then in the Man of Steel watch party, that's when they announced the Zack Snyder's Justice League announcement.
got it.
Um, so we also got Koji in the chat saying, saying hello, and but yeah, honestly, it's like I have to agree with you. I would love to see. another event where it shows every work that Zack Snyder has done, from his 300, uh, further, what's it called, that the Guardians film that he did.
Yes. Yeah.
I would love to see that, and also Sucker Punch. I think that would be really cool. And honestly, I hope we do get something like that where Zach can get to see all his films, and even the Rebel Moon universe. That is going to be an amazing film to come out because it comes out later on this year, and I'm sure we are going to be doing a watch along for that. I'm pretty sure. Um, so this one brings me up to my next question: is uh you already answered the question, I think. Would you go again to SnyderCon if there's another one?
Yes, yeah, and I would definitely make a point in in a future event to let's see. I would make a point to, I want to say, like, give more opportunity for other folks to um, you know, experience asking questions to the panel and getting
Yes.
them FaceTime and stuff. But I don't really have control over that. Like, looking back, yeah, I still kind of feel like self-conscious about not being deserving of having done the the watch party. But I'm glad and grateful that I did do it. I do wish that I had asked some more insightful questions on camera, so I guess that's something I would change. But like in the future, yeah, I would love to have more folks, not necessarily YouTubers or streamers like me. Even though
Hmm.
I haven't made content in a while, I appreciate folks who did give me the opportunity. But I would like to see more fans who are kind of like just in the audience. They're just there to enjoy the films as they are. And yeah, there I met a few of those folks as well, or connected with them after the convention. And yeah, a lot of them have a lot of great insight, if not even more valuable insight to share on these films that I don't really get to hear a whole lot of, like, on YouTube, because there's only like a small percentage of us that actually talk about these films at length. Whereas with people who watch the content either on YouTube or off of YouTube, there's a whole audience there, folks that don't really get time like us to have that access to ask those questions. So I would like more. Like I said, if I could change it, make it more holistic to Zach's history of work, and then also allow audience members who aren't necessarily content creators have FaceTime as well.
Yes. Yes. I would love for general audiences to go to the event, because I know Zach only had 200 I think it was for 214 tickets, wasn't it?
Yes,
Over.
for the art center of art. Sorry, yeah, art center of art and design. Fuck.
Art
Sorry,
Center.
design.
Yeah.
Yeah, ACOD. I don't know.
Yeah. God,
Sorry.
yeah. I know what you mean.
Yes, the
Um,
college.
the
Sorry.
college that he went to. Yes. But to see the general, fans, not just YouTubers, but general people overall that are just fans alone, for them to go to the event, maybe to do more than 214 tickets, maybe let's say 500 tickets. That way, you get more people to go to the event. I think would be very ideal, and definitely get people engaging that way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know that safety precautions do need to be in order, and staff to be on site to kind of like crowd control is definitely something that has to be considered too. So yeah, if they can handle a huge like convention center auditorium, then by all means.
Yeah, Daniel asks in the chat, Rare, could you hear much of Zack Snyder's Justice League Q&A panel? I tried to listen to some of that was uploaded from Bureau to YouTube. Wish the audio was was set up better.
Yeah, I kind of had similar experience as well. There was um not a whole lot of I guess audio support to give everyone in the audience who had a question a microphone. Again, that's no one's fault. It was just, a huge crowd and it required a lot of staff. And yeah, there just, wasn't enough mics to go around, including, the ones that were given to the panels. So yeah, that was kind of, a factor there that led to not many people being able to hear one another in the audience because they didn't have a mic.
Yes. So it was like because I like when watching the stream back when I was watching it back, like obviously I couldn't hear the questions, but I could hear the replies, and I was just like thinking, wait, haven't they got like two mics on each side that they could have used?
Yeah, there was not that many to go around, unfortunately. I feel bad saying that because I know that everyone was trying their best with the
Yeah.
production, but yeah, it was kind of out of their hands because they were also rushed out of the auditorium within
Okay.
5 hours or so. So 1 hour Q&A, 4 hour movie, um, and then they had to get us all out of there to move on with the next movie showtime.
Yes. So I want to ask this question because this is a really interesting question. Um, out of all the items you were able to pick up, because I know you got Max the T-shirt, would you have been able to pick up anything else from the event?
Yeah, I probably would have bought another T-shirt and the other poster. So there were two, one of the Superman statue and one of the original illustration. So I got Max the Superman statue poster signed by Patrick Tatopoulos, the stuntman for Ben Affleck. Debbie and Zack Snyder also signed it.
Yes.
And Debbie and Zach also signed Max's T-shirt as well. So I sent all of that to Max, as well as like a wristband and a enamel pin that they gave us. I would have bought an additional T-shirt for me because mine that I ordered before the event did not ship yet, and I wish I was able to like wear that shirt for the final day of the convention. So I would have bought another one of those, and I would have bought the original illustration poster as well.
Hmm. I mean, I would have loved to gone to the event, but because I'm in the UK, it's like for me to go from the UK to America, find somewhere to stay, it would cost a lot of money. So maybe next time if they're gonna do a big event, hopefully they'll do one in the UK as well, because that way the UK fan base can actually go to the event, and I think that would be awesome. Um, because I'm sure that Zach is probably looking back at the event and probably thinking, I could probably make this, not internationally too, and get, probably from the UK people too to try and go to these events and, to get people interacting with the same number of tickets, by the way, just that it'll be abroad, not in the States side, which I think would be really cool. So, like, I wanted to ask you this question because this is it's part of like my five questions, and then I'll let the chat ask a couple of questions. Um, what and who inspired you to do YouTube?
Yeah, so I had a couple friends from the last like few years or so, maybe like since COVID, the pandemic started. I
Yes.
started hanging out on YouTube more, and I was watching Matt Jarbo's channel, Three Book Theater, and that's how I got introduced to Mad Max. And then I started following Mad Max over on his channel, and I was like, this guy's hilarious. He's super personable, and he always responds to everyone in the chat. I love it. That's the energy I want to reciprocate to people. So then I started, responding and interacting with everyone in the chat and saying hi to them and greeting them and, communicating with them and acknowledging them. And then that's where I also met my friends Saggy Melons, Resonant Justice. I met Poindexter Lounge through those folks, Zod Writer, Syllab Duel. Like the list goes on and on. Like all of these
Yeah.
folks, they're just branched out from this community. I met Bill Reeve as well. So I was like, oh my gosh, all these folks like are under this one umbrella. Oh, and that's how I, got into watching a Film Junkie as well. And then like a whole other sub branch of folks from there too. And I'm like, this community is like so dense. Like, I could like keep going and then like keep finding creators who want to talk about these films. And that was all like during the before the Snyder Cut came out. So there was like a lot of people talking about it because the the anticipation was so high. So
Right. Yes.
so that's why so many people were talking about it at once, and YouTube was recommending me all these different creators who are live streaming. So I was like, that's how I got really heavy into live streams as well. And the more I interact with folks, I got invited onto panels because I would just type paragraphs into the chat to communicate with them, and they'd be like, Max is like, why don't you just come on the panel one day, Raya? And I was just like, okay. So I showed my face on camera. I talked with them, voice to voice, face to face, whatever. And then eventually they encouraged me to do my own live streams because they saw that, my voice kind of got lost in the sauce as far as like, those huge panels that that often happen on certain channels. And sometimes, points, get lost as far as like folks trying to make a, trying to communicate. So I was like, okay, if I were to do this, I would run it, my own way. So I tried game streams as well as occasional podcasts and stuff like that with open panels, or like, structured panels with, Q&A from the chat. And that was great for a while. Then I needed to take a break after, doing it for like a year and a half consistently. But yeah, yeah, just to like answer your question, all those different folks that I got to meet and interact with through to when the Snyder Cut came out in 2021 was like an amazing experience, and they all were inspirational and informative to what I wanted to accomplish as a content creator too.
Yeah, I mean, when I came across it, kind of when you're doing your gaming streams, I used to love watching it because I used to have your tab open. I was just like, I have to go into Raya's stream. I have to check out her content because obviously, Sid Abdul was recommended your channel to me, and I was like, yes, I have to go check it out, and of course, and I started networking, and then I did not know you were part of different communities as well, like Mad Max's channel and Film Junkies channel and uh, also like Belrev's channel. I find it like so cool that you're part of like so many different communities. And like OJ say, it's like you're fantastic at hosting anything, very professional and kind, and you're like one in a million, which is I truly stand by that comment. Like you are like an awesome person, and like what you do as a content creator is amazing. And like if people haven't subbed to Raya, I don't know what you guys are doing. Please subscribe to her channel. The link is in the description as well, to her social media, which is to Twitter and to her YouTube page, because she has got a lot going for her channel, and you guys won't be disappointed for the stuff that she does over on her channel. And I know that she's also a good friend to one of my friends, which is Doomkiller HD. So I know that you're part of that panel too, and I was just like, I find it so cool that Doomkiller actually got you on the panel and you were able to talk different things. And I find that so cool about you because you're able to talk about different things, not only just Snyderverse things, but other gaming things if you wanted to talk about other gaming topics. And like I'm sure you probably want to cover like the PlayStation State of Play or Showcase, and then you also got the Summer Game Fest happening too, which I'm sure you'll be very very excited for that.
Yeah, so a lot of like my passions outside of just like DC and Marvel stuff is just film in general and gaming in general. And I had a pretty awesome recurring gaming podcast with my friend Ken from Retro Complex. He was like
Yeah,
my co-host, and we would have panels of folks like from various sectors of the internet who did their own, gaming content, and they would come on and talk about gaming news or single topics as well, talking about like the relevance of things like um, E3 or sorry, like just like game announcement shows and things like that. Those were things that we all had different opinions on, which I love. Being on panels where people have different opinions. It's one of the
yeah,
reasons why I love Mad Max's content, because almost everyone on the panel has their own opinion, and it ends up being like a 3 hour show of folks just talking, and it's great because like listen to people talk about things that they're interested in is like so relaxing, so like calming. Yeah, it's like listening to the radio basically while I'm doing other tasks. So Yeah, and especially it's especially helpful when it's folks that you know I know, through my interactions with them on their content or interacting with them online, because there's more of like a connection there. Like, oh yeah, I know this person. I know how they may feel about this and this based off of what they said before. So I'd like to hear what they have to say about this other topic. So there's more engagement in my more mental engagement when it's people that I actually interact with talking on the panels about stuff that I know about too.
Yeah, because like when I see you on Max's channel, I find it so like, especially the gaming podcast that he does every month. It's like I find it so interesting what you have to bring to the table, to the forefront of things for like you you have a vast knowledge about video games from the NES era all the way up to the modern day era. Like I find that so cool and so interesting about you because I started off in the Sega Mega Drive era. That's the era I started off in, and then gradually got myself up to PlayStation 5. But going back to those retro games, it's like when you play them, it just reminds me so much I should go back to my old consoles and start diving back into those games like Sonic and Knuckles and some of the other games like Knuckles was one of my primary games that I used to play back in the day. So it's like seeing you tell me about when you playing these different games is like awesome. And like I had no idea that like you were using a PlayStation 5 controller to play these games on.
Yeah, yeah, that controller is the best controller I've ever experienced, honestly. It makes me want an actual PS5 more, but I've been traveling a lot in the past
Yeah,
like 6 to 8 months. Yeah, I'm just, enjoying life and enjoying spending time with my family as much as I can. And I just take opportunities like I have now to be able to, leave the house and spend more time outside with people I care about. Yeah, I've been taking those opportunities more and more, and it has taken away my time from content creation, but I think it's a good thing because I get to spend
yes,
more time with people I care about. Not that I don't care about folks that I interact with online. It's just, I'm trying to express more gratitude for towards the people that, are here even when I'm not, in front of them, if that makes sense. Like the people who are like there for me when I'm in need, like physically,
yeah,
like yeah.
yeah. I get where you're coming from, because like if you do so much, there's so much you can do that sometimes you don't want to burn yourself out. Right, that is something I know from experience because I've been doing YouTube for about 10 years. And if I do content for day in, day out, I need to find the time to have a break for myself. So I normally take like 2 or 3 days to myself just to break and then come back like from Thursday or Friday, come back and start doing content again. Because I normally, that's what I would do. Because I feel like that's something you need, that break, because that time away from the computer or time away from a laptop or so on and so forth. um but like I said, Rare, like you're one in a million, right? Like the what you do, what what the stuff that you bring to everybody's channel, which is a rare sunshine really, because you put smiles on people's faces, and you know you know how to be friendly with people, which is which people you set an example for people, which is a huge inspiration for people. Like you inspired me to be a better person, right? And that's why I gotta say, like I thank you for that tremendously on terms of YouTube.
Yeah, I'm honored, and I don't I don't want to like hype myself up on that because I feel like no, you had that ability inside you all along, and
Yeah,
once you made the decision to unlock it, that was all through your own determination to do so. So you are 100% to thank for becoming this better you, or continuing to become a better you every day. And I feel that for not only you, but for, Max and everyone else that I've been able to be a part of, like, not only their content creation journey, but also, become friends with too. So, yeah, I believe in all of you. I believe in your, ability to not only become stronger, more competent content creators, but also just, continuing to become, like, um, awesomer, more awesome people every day. So yeah, I definitely want to shout y'all out for that, because it's all through your own, personal determination that that's possible.
Yeah, like fun fact about me is because I have a disability called cerebral palsy. So my muscles are weak on the right side, and essentially I'm probably one of the few content creators you'll find out there that can walk and talk. And I wasn't able to walk and talk until the age of 5. Um, but when I started gaming, I on PlayStation, Sega Mega Drive, all of that stuff, I used to use one hand, and I still do to this day because I can't use my right hand properly. So, like, just this sheer determination is to basically like not giving up on myself and like seeing other people do content and say, look, you shouldn't give up on yourself gives me a massive boost to try and not give up. So that's why I want to thank you for because you're one of the people out there, well, one of many people out there that I consider giving morality boost. To try and keep yourself up and not be down, so to say, right? And like I said, sure, when you come back to content creation, it's going to be amazing. Like I know that this break that you needed is helping you. I'm sure of that. So like this is like at the ending of the interview, so to say. We normally have like two things. So the first thing is our final thoughts. So final thoughts on the overall experience you had at SnyderCon, I want to ask, and like the future of your channel goes for the future of your content going forward, and like what have you got planned out for your channel?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my final thoughts around Full Circle and my experience there. Yeah, I'm very grateful, very humbled to be able to attend all 3 days of the event and meet so many people in the community. I would love for future events to be held internationally for other fans to be able to participate in. And I'm looking forward to be able to hopefully attend even more conventions with more people too. And as far as like the future of my channel, I do have plans to go to more events where I can meet more of our friends from online in person. In
Yes.
fact, I have an event coming up called Too Many Games in Philadelphia in June, where I'm going to be meeting Mad Max and Crazy Joe in person, as well as the Retro Bro. So that will be really
Yes.
fun. And then as far as like content creation, maybe later into after the convention season dies down, I'll have more bandwidth to look into how I would reapproach content. I have been into like playing around with the idea of doing similar to what ACS Universe does, like a daily, 1 hour digest of news, just to sort of like touch base with folks in the chat, get Q&A, as well as just, thoughts on recent pop culture news, whether it be gaming or film and TV. So I was playing around with that idea because I thought it was really smart to be able to just, at least get content out, as well as, get some, quick thoughts in on as far as like the events of the day. So that would be a potential idea that I'm thinking of doing. And
Right.
yeah, that is pretty much it. Like my final thoughts on Full Circle, future Full Circles, and future of my channel.
That's perfect. Um, Guys in the chat, if you got any questions for Rhea before we end the stream, drop them in now because we're gonna wrap up in the next couple of minutes. So I'll give you guys an opportunity to post some questions to Rhea before we wrap up. In regards to anything, whether it's gaming, whether it's DC stuff, or anything really. What you guys want to ask her, feel free to ask her in the chat because it would we would love to hear your comments. And also, if you're watching this as a VOD, guys, feel free to leave your thoughts in the opinions of what Rhea said about Full Circle. We would love to hear your feedback. And furthermore, I implore you guys to subscribe to Rhea, which is on YouTube, and also follow her on Twitter. So I would recommend you guys do that. And yes, I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to get that all sorted in the chat. Um, so we got one question from the Bat Channel. For new YouTubers, what advice would you give Rhea to avoid obstacles you face?
Yeah, I would say be wise to protect your personal information and try to use the same username across the board that that way you can have consistency in your brand as far as like how people can find you, and stick to that, namesake. Like, not to use you as an example, Teladia, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think you do a great job as far as like consistency in your brand and how people are able to identify you. Oh, hey, that's Teladia. Like, it's a very like searchable, easy to remember name, and we don't, need to know any of your personal information to identify who you are. So I think that your approach to how you, structured your brand as well as how you structure your content is a great way for beginning content creators to kind of model how they would approach it as well. So yeah, like I said, consistent branding of your handles and making sure to protect your personal information would definitely be two things I would recommend.
there you go, Bat Channel. That's so there you go, the Bat Channel. That's your answer. Super Corey says in the chat, so fun to hear your story about Full Circle Rare. Great job, Teladia. Subscribe to them both. And we got Sync Havoc in the chat saying, "What's up?" Hey, Sync Havoc. We're just about to end up, but if you do have a question about for Raya, feel free to put it in the chat. Um, but yeah, Raya, like I said, when it comes down to you explaining, like for new YouTubers, it definitely does help that branding is a key feature because that's when I started off on YouTube, I thought of a name and I thought of what I'm going to be doing content wise, and like my content is strictly DC, and I cover from like I first started off on gaming, then slowly switched over to movie TV shows, reactions, stuff like that. We got a question from Daniel. Rhea, is there anyone you would like to collab with that you have not had the opportunity to or hasn't come to fruition yet?
Yes, so that's so funny because I saw Daniel in the chat for Film Gob, and I haven't seen Film Gob live stream in like months. So seeing him pop up on my feed, I was like so happy because I'm like such a big fan of his, and yeah, I would love to just, in the same way that you're interviewing me, I would probably make like, a whole laundry list of questions I want to ask him because he's his whole like YouTube persona has always been entertaining to me over the last like couple of years, and yeah, like he's such an entertainer. He's such a he seems like a super awesome person, like even behind the persona as well. So he would be someone I would want to collab with, if not just interview.
And the back channel says he's like one of the hilarious to stream with and one of the funniest panels he's had have ever been on. So
Yes, that's the thing is that like I would have to stop myself from laughing like like before I could actually get a question out because he's so hilarious without even trying.
yeah, I find it. I mean, I haven't heard of Film Gob, so it's like I think this is the first time somebody's told me that.
Oh my god, you're missing out. Oh gosh, yeah. For the last like couple years, I was actually I became familiar with his content through Sil Abdul, and I remember Sil had him and Uche. Rest in peace, Uche. That was like
Yeah.
the best panel ever. Like Film Gob, Uche, and Sil was just cracking up the entire time, and I was watching this on stream on my TV, cracking up as well. It was just amazing. So I would love to chat with Film Gob as well in the future.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. If you get an opportunity to, I cannot wait because like you you know what y- you bring you bring a lot to the table. So um and yes, as the back channel says, rest in peace, Uche. You know, with respect to him. Um, but yeah, Sync Havoc and everyone else that's been in the chat today. Thank you for watching, everybody. We hope you have enjoyed Raya's interview, well, my interview with Raya, as we discussed Full Circle. Um, because basically what we discussed about her experience there. If you guys haven't checked out Raya, the link will be in the description for her YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, because I know she does stream on Twitch and YouTube at the same time.
Yeah.
So I would implore you to follow that as well. So and also if you forgotten, AFSP is in the chat as well, guys. Make sure if you guys haven't already donated to AFSP, I would recommend you guys doing that because all of this would have been happened if it wasn't for the event, and furthermore, just to get these amazing people on the panel to do these interviews that I've done so far in the last week. So it's like organizing this up. So like I said, guys, donate to AFSP. All the donations do help and spread that awareness, guys. So and Sakava says you killed it as first say. So so with that being said, I've been your host Teladia Plays. That has been Rare. So and we will see you guys on another stream. And don't forget tomorrow, guys, it is Superman and Lois live reactions with Comics League and J Heat. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys later.